Welcome to online store setup and publishing module. In this module, I'll be describing about what we will be setting up in online storefront integration, and then we will talk through creating online store navigation structure. Then we will further discuss about creating and configuring online store. Further, we will talk through data distribution and publishing of an online store, where we will discuss about how we will be pushing the data from AX to CRT database, which in turn gets into storefront. And at the end, we will close with shipping charges for online store. So what are the configurations which we need to do to have the shipping charges in line with each and every product that we are pushing it from online store. Let's get started with the conceptual model of the online store. Once the online store is deployed on the SharePoint form, you can set up the online store in Microsoft Dynamics AX and then publish it to the online storefront and manage and then publish the online store catalog. An online store is a model as a retail channel and is added as a part of organization hierarchy. A conceptual model for the online store is shown in the following diagram, which is there in this slide. So if you see here, you can find an online store is mapped with different set of data which comes from AX to SharePoint. So out here, first we need to configure each and every set of data which are required to have an online store up and running. So here, if you see, each and every data is associated to the online store with different set of relationships. For example, here an assortment would be a many-to-many relationship to an online store. Similarly, for every online store, you may have only one navigation hierarchy configured for it. And you will be also setting up different set of data like what is the mode of delivery, what is the price group, what sort of a customer that you are having, and different discounts and loyalty schemes, and what are the different store location groups that you have, and what would be the currency which will be aligned with the online store. So moving on, to configure and publish the online store, you must follow these steps. So first we should set up an online store integration. Then we need to create an online store navigation structure. Then create and configure the online store. Further, we will be configuring data distribution and publish the online store. And we will go ahead and then manage the online store products and publish the catalog. The setup steps are listed in the online store setup checklist that is available in Microsoft Dynamics AX client. Under retail, you have to go to setup, and under setup you will find online store setup checklist. So this would be a checklist of each and every step that you need to configure in Dynamics AX. Let's have a closer look and continue configuring components to work with AX in the next lessons, where I will walk you through each step. Setting up the online store integration includes setting up the following components in AX: async server profile, channel database, channel profile, real-time services profile, working folder configuration, and payment methods configuration. Let's take a look at how we need to configure these in the VM. So if you see here, I am at US RT and I have selected the module retail, and under retail our area of concentration would be setup. In setup, we need to focus on channel integration. So this would be the area where we will be configuring each and every configuration to have the data flow from AX to CRT database and vice versa. So now moving on, first I am going to show you how to configure async server profile. So click on async server profile under channel integration, which is under setup. So once I click on it, you may need to have a single row of data configured for async server. There are scenarios where in a farm environment and in a large scale enterprise environment, you may have multiple async servers configured for pushing and pulling the data from CRT to AX and vice versa. So here we have only single server box, and hence we have a single server to be configured. So I have the name of the server under name, description of the server, then data download interval in minutes and data upload interval in minutes. So here it is configured to 0, which means you have data whenever coming into drop folder, which is nothing but the download and upload folders under working folders. So that we will be looking at next. So when a data package file comes into download and upload folder, it will instantly pick it up through the async server. So let me close this, as we have configured already the async server profile. Moving on, next would be channel database. So it's again under setup, channel integration, channel database. So once I click on channel database, you can see here the list of channels which are already configured with this VM. However, in a new environment setup, you may need to create a new store with the channel ID, and then you can select the data group. So we will be talking about data group next. However, here there are two data groups, which is data group and an India data group. So our online store is retail counter store, which is part of the data group, and the configuration that we need to do is, what is the channel database ID, choose the data group, then have the username and password for that particular channel database that we earlier configured during our installation. And we need to also choose the async server profile, which we configured little earlier. So once you have all these configurations connected, now the data which comes to the drop folder from AX, as soon as it comes as a data package file, the async server goes ahead and connects to the channel database and pushes this data to the CRT database of the online store. Moving on, next configuration would be channel profiles. So if you see, again channel profile is under setup, channel integration, channel profiles. So once I click on channel profile, you can see 3 different profiles that are available. So Fabricom channel profile, retail server channel profile, and SharePoint channel profile. So our concentration here would be SharePoint channel profile sample. So here if you see, the channel profile is by default configured with a name, and then you need to select one of the profile type. So here we have 4 profile types already configured. So I am going to choose SharePoint online store. So if you choose any other profile, let me click on new to show you if I am trying to create a new profile. When I click on new, you will find a new item getting entered to the channel profile as a configuration. So here you may need to give a name, then choose one of the profile types. If you choose SharePoint online store, automatically when you click on add, let me give it a name. I am keying in as SP channel profile, and then when I click on add, so you can see the drop down shows you only the options which are relevant to SharePoint online store. So here you will be finding only a publishing site collection URL and a catalog site collection URL. This would be the channel profile which will be used for the URLs for the timer job to pick the data from CRT database to SharePoint's online storefront. So I am not going to key in this and save it because we already have it configured. So let me go ahead and delete this record and come back to SharePoint channel profile. So if you see here, we have both of our publishing portal and the catalog URL configured. So the catalog portal is configured with 40,001 port of the server, which is retail product catalog site collection, and similarly we have the publishing portal configured with 40,003 port, and which is the retail publishing storefront site collection. So out here we need to configure both of these URLs, and then that would be the configuration for channel profiles. Moving on, next would be the working folder configuration. So when I click on working folders, this is again under setup, channel integration, working folder. Once I click on it, you can see name is configured as file storage and the download and the upload paths are configured. So under this particular path, you will be able to find each and every online store or a POS store has its own folders created for itself, and each and every data package file gets stored into that particular folder, from where the async server and the async client will be picking the data package files. Moving on, we need to also configure real-time service profile, which actually is a installation during the AX installation. So real-time service profile would be a website which gets configured into IIS. If you see here, there is only one real-time service which is configured in this VM. So the server name would be retail.conteso.com. A default port would be 809, and we have the protocol configured net.tcp. This would be a direct configuration that comes during the installation. So you can configure a passphrase for it and the real-time service version. So once you select all these and also have the settings where you can say whether this is a real-time service staff or not. So this is one of the configuration which automatically happens during the installation. However, you can always come here and go ahead and change any of the configuration for the real-time service. So this would be the service which will be called directly from a storefront to get data from Dynamics AX. Moving on, we need to also configure under setup payment methods, where you will be finding different options of payment methods, card types. So here let me click on payment methods. Once I click on payment methods, you can configure what are the different kinds of payment options that you are going to give it for your customers with different modes of channel. So our focus here would be an online store, so wherein we have gift cards, loyalty cards, cards and cash. So these are some of the options, wherein cash would be for a POS kind of an configuration of a channel. But with e-commerce we will be more focused towards loyalty cards and gift cards, and even with customer accounts. So here you can always go ahead and create a new payment method if you like to have more. And with that I conclude the configurations for channel, but we should also look at payment connections. So payment connections is a huge configuration which we need to do, which itself is a separate topic to discuss. So this would come under account receivable and payable. So you can always go ahead and look out how to configure a payment connection by looking into articles in TechNet. Moving on, join me in the next lesson where I will show you how to create an online store navigation structure. For online store navigation, you create a category hierarchy that is used as a category structure for products that you offer through an online store. You define the category hierarchy and then assign products, then product attribute groups and attribute values to the categories. Then you assign the category hierarchy to an online store. When the online store is published, the category hierarchy defines the online store navigation structure, which are nothing but the menus that you see on the SharePoint storefront. Therefore, this category hierarchy is known as a retail channel navigation hierarchy. Any changes that you make to the retail channel navigation hierarchy in AX are updated when you republish the online store to SharePoint, and also when you do the publishing from Dynamics AX to the CRT database. So let's take a look at how to set this online store navigation hierarchy by following certain steps in AX. I am switching back to my VM, and here if you notice I am in USRT under retail module. So let me zoom it out for you to have a look. So it's under retail module, and we need to go to setup, and under setup you will be finding category hierarchies. So under category hierarchies you can find retail channel navigation hierarchies. So this would be the one which we need to configure in order to have our navigation structure flowing from AX to CRT database, and from there flow to SharePoint, and in turn you will find as navigation menus in storefront. So the entire navigation structure of a storefront is completely managed from AX. So this makes it easy for entire configuration of data to be handled at AX, and then we have it in our SharePoint site. So I clicked on retail channel navigation hierarchies, and you can find here we have 3 navigation hierarchies already configured by default in this VM. So one is for a Contoso store, one is a channel navigation hierarchy, and one is for Fabricam navigation hierarchy. So now we are going to look into Contoso online hierarchy. So I'm clicking on Contoso online hierarchy. So I did a double click, and you will find a form getting open with the navigation hierarchy that you see it in the online storefront. Let me quickly move to online storefront to show you how exactly the mapping is. So if you see here, you have audio, and under audio you have car audio, headphones, MP3 and speakers. Similarly you have for cameras, computers, home appliances. So this would be the navigation hierarchy that we pull it from AX and push it to CRT database, and then have it available for our storefront. Let me switch back to AX. So if you see here, the hierarchy's main level tree would be electronics, and under electronics you have audio. Let me click on audio and expand it. So if you see here, you have the car audio, headphones, MP3s and speakers. So the manageability is very easy, because if you have a new product added in AX, you can always go ahead and add that particular product to respective hierarchy. So here car audio would be one, where if I click, you can find I have few of the products which are configured to the car audio. So here you can always go ahead and click on add. When you click on add, you can add a single item from the product list. So if you see here, we have list of products. You can always select one of the product, and you can click on select. Once you click on select, you will find that particular product getting added. So now when I click on OK, you will find that particular product added to the product list of this particular car audio navigation hierarchy. So now if you suppose have a requirement of adding multiple products, then you can always click on add products. So when you click on add products, you get a different form wherein you can select an entire bunch of products from the form and then have it available for you. So if you see here, you have filter options wherein you can select which filter you want to focus on. So probably if I want to add products from a different category, you can always feel free to go and choose it. So I have something called clearance and seasonal here. If I select seasonal, then in seasonal you can see fall, spring, summer and winter. However, this is not relevant to this particular electronic store. This is more for the Fabricam store. So let me move back to retail product category, which is more relevant for us. And here if I select on electronics, you can find audio, and you have all the products with respect to audio. So now you can go ahead and select multiple products. You can select multiple products like I have selected here, and then you can go ahead and add it to your selected list of products. So once I click on add, you should be finding those products getting added into the add selected products. let me select few more products here and click add. So you can see that all the products got selected and you have add selected products list populated with those that you selected. Now when you click on OK, so if you see here, there are few messages which says that these products are already part of a different navigation hierarchy. So if suppose a product is part of a different navigation hierarchy, then it doesn't make sense to have it in a different hierarchy. So let's clear this out and close it. So I just showed you about how to add multiple products here. That would be our area of focus. And moving on, if you see here, we also have a fast tab which says about product attribute groups. So product attribute groups are nothing but set of attributes that you want to have it for a car audio. So if you see here, I have SP promo group which is already configured with this attribute group of car audio. So if I select this and say view attributes, you will find that SP promo group is available for you, and under which you have all the properties which are there as set of attributes. So by default a car audio will be having a brand name, a campaign, and whether it is on sale or not. So any product that you add to this particular hierarchy, you can add these values for that particular attribute. If you see here, moving on, I have selected audio and headphones. Here you have a specific audio product attribute group which is called headphones. If I select headphones and click on view attributes, you will find what are the specific details that a headphone need. So these kind of attributes will come for the product, and you can always add the values for it. So by which you will have all these values whichever there for that particular product configured and then moved with the data to CRT database and in turn move to storefront. So you will have the specifications of a headphone available for that product in the storefront. Now let me close this and also show you one other important thing with this Conteso online hierarchy. So if you see here, we can also enrich navigation category data for presentation. So after the category hierarchy is created, you can improve the category data for presentation by updating few of the values. So by default for electronics, if there will be a set of icon and images that will be associated to electronics. So if suppose for a car audio, I want to have a different image which will be available for me at the storefront as an image or an icon next to that particular value, then you can always click on images which is there at the top. So here by default it is set to default, so which means it will use the default icon. However, if you want to have a different icon populated, then you can pass the URL of the icon and then give it a friendly name by which that will be used to enrich the category data. So similarly you can also have a different text for the enrichment. So when I click on edit presentation text, you will be finding a new form getting open for you. So in this form you can always click on edit and then you can add your own set of data that you want to show it in the HTML editor form. So you can have a different kind of a enrichment of text for car audio. So this text would be an additional text which will be shown in the storefront as a enriched data for car audio. So I'm going to close it because out of the box is fine with me. So I'm going to leave it as it is and close this form. So with this I conclude this demo, and then further we will be discussing in the next lesson where I will show you how to create and configure an online store. Setting up the online store includes following set of steps which we need to do it in AX. First we will be creating an online store, then assign the online store to the organizational hierarchy, then we will come back to the online store and configure it. When you create an online store, you define the online store navigation structure and basic information. the details that you define for the online store in Microsoft Dynamics AX controls the behavior of the online store after it gets published. Let's take a look how we will be configuring this in AX. So I am switching back to my VM. So I am currently in USRT under retail, and out here you have under common you have retail channels. When you click on retail channels, you find a menu button called online stores. So let me click on online stores. Once you click on it, you will be finding 3 online stores that are already configured and available with the demo VM. However, if you want to configure your own new online store, you may need to click on new, and under new under the new tab you find online store, which is under the channel tab. I'm sorry. So if I click on online store here, so you will be finding a new form getting open, where you need to configure a set of attributes with values. So let me go ahead and show you what are the main things that you need to configure in order to create an online store. So if you see here, you can already find that there are red lines which shows that these are mandatory fields that we need to key in. So one would be name, then you have to select the warehouse, you have to select the store time zone, then a default customer, by which if a customer is coming to the online storefront and he is not trying to log in himself and he is trying to do a guest purchase, then he will be doing the purchase with the default customer. So this is mandatory. Then further we need to choose the method of payment, and then moving on, we need to also select the real-time service profile which we earlier configured in the previous lessons, and we should also choose the channel profile which we have again created in the previous lesson, and also we must choose the channel database. So this would be the database with which this particular store will be up and running. So this would be the CRT database that we will be configuring. And further, let me scroll down and show you some of the important values that you also need to configure. So a business unit would be the unit which you need to configure, and remaining things are not mandatory, so you can definitely choose whichever is the appropriate data that you want to map with the online store based on your financial dimensions. So with this configuration, you will be able to create an online store. In the sake of time, with this I am going to show you one of the online store which is configured. So let me double click on Contoso online store. If you see here, the name of the store is configured, and you have to mandatorily choose the operating unit number for this store. This would be a unit number which you will be keying in your storefront solution in the configuration file, by which this will be the unit number which will be used with storefront and also with CRT. So with this operating unit, the data will get picked either through a real-time service or through a asynchronous call from CRT services. So you have to select the legal entity. So in our case here it is USRT, and the warehouse is DC-Central. So you can always have multiple warehouses, and you can configure one of the warehouse for this particular online Contoso store. And further, you need to also choose which currency. So this online store is going to run with USD, which is United States dollar, and the default customer is configured for this online store, and you have to select the customer address book. So with this particular online store, we are using the address book of USRT Central. However, you can create a new address book and associate it with your new online store. Further, moving on, if you see in the previous lessons, we had real-time service profile of JBB, then channel profile of SharePoint channel profile sample. So with this channel profile, what happens is this online store gets configured to the respective URLs, and live channel database would be the CRT database. Here for the Contoso store, the database would be retail Contoso store. And if you see the store time zone, it's in central time. So based on this, each and every data gets configured in the storefront. And if you see right down, you have the payment connector, which is part of payment accounts. So this is a test connector which is added. However, there is a separate solution called payment SDK. With that solution, you can go ahead and create your own connector with different mode of payments that you want to do with credit cards and a third party provider who has the payment options available for you. So with the payment SDK, you can create a new DLL and build it, and then bring that test connector association and configure with your account payable and receivable to have that as a connector, and with that you will be able to configure that payment gateway for your online store. You can always have multiple connectors associated for your payment accounts. So moving on, so you need to also select the language with which this particular online store gets supported. So out here the language is EN-US. Let me go ahead and edit this particular online store. When I say edit, you can see it asks whether you want to edit, and if you are editing, it will become a draft state. So whenever you edit any of the online store after creation, so it immediately moves to draft state. Then you may need to publish, and on publish you will be finding that getting updated to your CRT database. But before publishing, you may also need to get the approval. So it has its own process which we will discuss later. So now I am going to click on S, and then let me scroll down, and if you see, I have business unit wherein I can configure a business unit associated to this, but this is not a mandatory field, so you can ignore it if you don't want to configure. So further, you have to choose your cost center. These are mostly to connect with the different modules of AX, by which you have a streamlined connectivity between your different departments of your retail company. So with this, I end up this online store configuration. But moving on, once we create this online store, next we need to go ahead and configure the organization hierarchy by which this particular online store gets associated to the respective organization. So for that, I will go to USRT, and under USRT I will go to organization administration, and under organization administration I need to select organizations. So when I click on organization, you will find internal organization and organization hierarchies. So let me click on organization hierarchies. Once I click on organization hierarchies, which is under common, so you will find the set of organization hierarchies that are already configured. Our area of focus would be retail stores by type, which is Contoso. So let me double click on it and open that particular hierarchy. If you see here, for an online store, the basic assigned purpose, it should mandatorily have at least retail assortment and retail replenishment. So with this, you will be able to configure that particular organization hierarchy to an online store. So now if you click on view organization hierarchy after selecting retail stores by type Contoso, so I am going to select that, and then I am going to click on view organization hierarchy, which is the third section in the organization hierarchy tab. So once I click on it, you will find the organization hierarchy form getting open for you. So in this form, if you see here, Contoso retail is the retailer, and under which you have 4 different channels. One would be with the mall, one would be online, and one would be with super and outlet. So under online, we have the online store which is configured. So out here you can select the particular hierarchy where you want to add your online store, and then you can click on edit. So once I click on edit, I should be able to select the online store, and then I can click on insert. So when I click on insert, you have the set of options available wherein you can add a legal entity, a department, a cost center, a value stream, a business unit or a retail channel. So out here our expectation is to add a retail channel. So when you click on insert and say retail channel, you should be able to add a new retail channel. So here you can find the list of channels that are available for you, and wherein we already have the Contoso store added to this particular online hierarchy. So that's the reason you don't find it here. So if you have a new online store created, that online store will be available here. So this is where you are doing the association between the online store and the organization hierarchy. So once you do this, you can save this draft and then publish and then close. So during the publish, you need to give the effective date and the time zone and describe the changes what you are doing to your online hierarchy and then hit publish. So once you do that, you will be able to publish the organization hierarchies association to the online store. Now coming back, I'm going to get back to I'm going to get back to online store. So I'm going to click on retail and I will get back to the retail module, and here in retail module I will click on the online stores. If you see in the online store, if I select the Contoso online store, either you can select here and you can find the channel, and next to it you have a setup tab. So when you click on the setup, you find set of properties that you can manage which are aligned here as menus. So over here you can select channel attributes, or you can also double click on this Contoso online store and you can still select the same setup and you will find the same set of menus here. So out here let me click on channel attributes. When I click on channel attributes, you can add a new channel attribute here wherein you can say this particular channel will have these set of attribute groups. So you can even associate an attribute group from here. And then moving on, so these will be channel attributes which are nothing but the specifications that you will have for all the products that you have under this channel. In the previous lesson we had a look at attributes that are associated with respect to the catalogs, but here it is more towards the channel. And further you can even add sales order attributes and you can add store product attributes. I would recommend you to try each and every attribute, by which you will get a knowledge of what exactly are these attribute groups. So mostly it is about a different set of attribute groups that you are associating to respective stream in the online channel. So out here if you see, I have the Contoso online store, and for this online store I have a default set of SharePoint provisioned product attribute group. When I double click this group, I should be able to see the set of fields that are by default available for this particular group. When you select this, you will be able to see always each and every product will be having the product name, description, item number, features, specification, image and so on. So all these properties are mandatory for each and every product that are associated to this particular online store. So you are trying to configure a base level of attribute group by which it comes in common to each and every product that you are going to add it to the catalog and in turn add it to the channel. So further, one last thing that I want to show you would be set attribute metadata. So when you select set attribute metadata, here you can see you have a set of product. I am going to select audio, and under which I have car audio. So if you see here, we have campaign and on sale. If suppose you want to have some set of metadata that you want to add to it, by which this particular items which comes under car audio, all the products should be available with your search. So for that you have to select include attribute. So when I select include attribute, which means this particular attribute will get included for your search. So here if you see, you have attribute metadata where you can choose whether this particular attribute group needs to be part of searchable, retrievable, or you want it to be queried, or you want it to be part of the refiner in the search in the storefront. And similarly, you want to see whether you want to sort this particular set of attribute values. So all these things go into storefront in SharePoint as managed properties with search. So when you have these attributes configured, based on it the search will index accordingly, and in turn from the product catalog side the data gets indexed into the search, and in turn when you search in the online store you will have those particular values getting part of different kind of managed properties like searchable. So if you have the searchable selected, then this particular attribute group will, if you search with any of the values of this attribute group for that product, you should be finding that product listed in your search. So with this I conclude this particular lesson. Join me in the next lesson where we will look at data distribution and publishing. Setting up data distribution and publishing includes performing sequential steps in AX. To configure and schedule retail data distribution in AX 2012 R3, we must complete the following steps. First, we should set up connection profiles, which we already discussed in the earlier lesson. I will come to this connection profiles little later. Next, we would be configuring the channel data group. Then we will go ahead and configure jobs and sub jobs in retail scheduler. Then we will go ahead and schedule and run the jobs in retail scheduler. So coming back to set up connection profiles, we discussed earlier lesson that we need to set up async server, real-time service, channel and database profiles. So since we already looked into these, let me move on to the next topic of interest, which would be creating a channel data group. You can group similar channel databases into a data group. For example, you can group the databases for stores that are in the same region or stores that are of the same type. All channel databases in a data group subscribe to the same data. When you run distribution schedule, a data package is generated for each data group. So using data groups, we will reduce the number of data packages that are getting generated from Dynamics AX. Therefore, this helps in improving the performance. So let's take a look at how we need to configure the data group. So I am getting back to my VM. So if you see here in my VM, I am now in the retail module, and under retail module we need to go to setup, and under setup we need to scroll down and see there will be a menu item called retail scheduler. So this accordion will be holding the different menus, wherein first we will be looking at scheduler jobs. So I am going to click on scheduler jobs. So if you see the scheduler job, here you will find the name and description. For example, here we are discussing about currency. So that would be the first job that is by default selected. So here we will be configuring the job name, then we will be giving a description, and then we will be giving the data about retail schema. So retail schema we have to select whether it is for retail R3 AX 2012 or it is for POS or it is for a R2 online channel. So now by default we will be selecting it for R3 since our VM is completely configured with 2012 R3, and here you can find jobs and sub jobs. So this list holds the job and the description for it, and here you have a fast pane where you will find sub jobs. So here you can always add a new sub job to this particular scheduler jobs, which we will discuss little later. So now moving on, so this initialization of predefined jobs and sub jobs makes Microsoft Dynamics AX have a sequence of data package which gets pushed as a distribution, and then that in turn moves to CRT database. So here we will be populating the jobs and sub jobs to initialize the retail. So we need to complete these set of tasks to help us save times. for that we have to add the subjobs here. So let me go ahead and show you how to create the subjobs. So you can click on new and you can select a subjob which you will be creating little later in the lesson. So I am going to delete this at this moment. We will go ahead and look into the subjobs. So if you see here, we have retail scheduler subjobs. When I click on retail scheduler subjobs, here you can go ahead and create a new scheduler subjob. So when I click on a new scheduler subjob, here you have to give the subjob number, you have to give a description, you have to say whether it is pulling a data or pushing a data. So based on this checkbox, it defines whether it is going to pull the data from AX and push it to CRT database, or it is going to be picking the data from CRT and getting the data to AX. So now here if you see, pull data is something very important to be configured. So if the subjob replicates the data from the channel database and writes the data to Microsoft Dynamics AX database, then we need to select this pull data checkbox. Then moving on, we have to also have a retail channel schema. So if I click the drop down, you have to select which kind of a schema that you want to use. In our case, we will be using AX 2012 R3, and then you have to select the channel table name to which you need to run this subjob. So by which you are telling that this particular table from AX needs to be pushed to CRT or pulled from CRT to AX. So it depends on whether you are selecting this pull data or not. So once you select this channel table, let me select one of it. So I am going to select currency. Then you have to say which is the table that needs to be mapped in AX. So this is a channel table name which is from the CRT database. Next would be the Microsoft Dynamics AX table. So when you click here, you will be able to find which would be the table that you are going to map it. So let me select one of the table here. I clicked on, so you have the same table over here. So I am going to select currency. So what happens is this would be the table mapping. So let me give you a closer look. So I have selected the channel table and the AX table. If you need a temporary table, you can always create a temporary table and associate it over here. So once you do this, you have to do a transfer field list. Let me give the job a number. So here you can click on new and you can select which is the from field. So if you see all the fields, you will be able to see it here. So I can say I want the currency code and I need to select the to field, wherein I am again going to select the same currency code by which it maps between both the columns in different databases. And you can say what would be the conversion type, whether it will be equal to or not. So I am going to say it has to be equal because both are code, and with this you can say even conversion value. So this makes a filter. So if you make a equal to and you pass a value, then only that currency code will be getting pushed and pulled. So I am not going to do it now. So I am just going to leave it as none, and you can click on functions and say match fields. When you do that, you will find each and every property which is getting matched, it automatically picks and matches all the fields between both the tables. So you can click on file and save or Control S and then close this window. So now you have created a subjob wherein you are mapping your table in channel database with the AX table. So one key thing to note would be, If it is a AX table which is already available in channel database, you can map it directly. If suppose you are trying to create a new table in AX and you want to map the same with the channel database, you may need to create that table in AX, beg your pardon, you have to create the same table in channel database, and then you have to have same set of fields created for you. So once you do that, what happens is you will be finding those tables directly picked using the database profile, and you will get all the columns available for that in your transfer field list. So with that, you can go ahead and have the mapping done with your new AX table which you have created for your customizations. So now you can also do another thing, like I have a currency, I want to do the same job with some customizations, then I can go ahead and click on copy scheduler job, and then I can go ahead and copy the same currency job. And you can also say what is the scheduled by. So here if you say account number and description, so this would be the account which is used to do the schedule by. And now once you say save, what happens is you create a new sub job. So now this particular job I am going to delete it, however, but once you create this sub job, you can get back to your scheduler jobs and you can add that sub job into your sub job for that particular main job. So this becomes like a P job. So for P jobs, you must also specify the temporary database table to use. To create temporary database table, you need to create a staging table for it. Now moving on, I am going to show you how to create retail parameters. So I am going to close this window. I am going to get back to retail. Under setup, which is over here, you have something called retail parameters. So once I click on retail parameters, on the general tab we need to click initialize. So this would be a set of steps only we need to do during the initial configuration of the store. So this is a one time activity. So here if you see under general, you have something called initialize. When you say initialize, this will initialize the base configuration data for the retail. So out here we have already configured the entire online store, so I am not going to run this, but for a fresh installation and a setup, you may need to do this retail parameter configuration initialization. Predefined jobs in AX 2012 R3 has following types of predefined jobs that gets created automatically. So they are of two jobs, one is download jobs and another is upload jobs. So download jobs are the jobs that sends data that has changed from Microsoft Dynamics AX to channel database. Modifications to records are tracked through SQL Server change tracking. Similarly, with upload jobs, they are also called as P jobs. So upload jobs pulls sales transactions from a channel into the Dynamics AX database. So P jobs upload data incrementally. When a P job runs, async line checks the replication counter for records that have already been received from a location. The instance of async line from the channel sends only those records that have a replication counter that is greater than the largest value of the data which is found. So P jobs do not update data that was previously uploaded. So this improves the performance. So moving on, publishing an online store. So we will be discussing about publishing an online store. Let me get into the slide and I will be showing you about the entire flow of publishing an online store. So publishing an online store is mainly with generation of online store structure, the navigation categories and channel properties at the SharePoint site. So if you see here with this diagram, you can create the online store in Microsoft Dynamics AX, and then when you configure the online store, its publishing status is set to draft. When you click publish, the status changes from draft to in progress. Microsoft Dynamics AX takes a snapshot of the categories and properties that are configured in AX. So once these snapshots are taken, async server and async client reads information about the online store hierarchies, and also it will be reading the properties in the retail store database and sends it to the commerce runtime in the online storefront. So in online storefront, which is nothing but SharePoint 2013 online portal, so you will be finding the CRT synchronizing the tables in the CRT database. So with these database synchronization, the data gets synchronized to SharePoint 2013 online storefront. So the retail publishing job, which runs as a SharePoint timer job, reads the job by which the tables which are mapped in the commerce data exchange has updated values. So these particular data will be picked by the retail publishing job, and it creates the term sets and standard content types in SharePoint. So once the standard content types gets created in SharePoint through this retail publishing job, then the commerce data exchange real time service would be the one which will retrieve the status of the retail publishing job action and publishes that status in Microsoft Dynamics AX. So the status shows either published or failed. So this would be a seamless process only if you have configured each and everything that we discussed in the previous lessons as is. So the key thing to note down here would be, you need to make sure that you have your configurations for asynchronous server and asynchronous client configured properly, and make sure in the services of the server where the SharePoint is running, you need to make sure that the timer job service is running properly. So only then there will be a seamless transaction from AX to CRT database through commerce runtime services with asynchronous service calls, and in turn timer job will be having the data for you in the SharePoint storefront. And once everything gets successful, we will have the CDX real time service working in terms of giving back the data to AX that whether the publishing is successful or not. Note that after the online store is published, you can assign product catalogs to it and publish your retail products to the online store to make the products available to the web shoppers. This process will be discussed later in this module. However, let's go to AX and publish an online store. So out here I am in USRT under retail. So under common, we are going to select under retail channels online stores. So once I click on it, you will be finding a set of online stores that are already configured. So our area of focus would be Contoso online store. I am going to select this store, double click it. So I have opened the online store form, so wherein you have an option to publish. So this will happen only when you have anything edited in your Contoso online store. So the only difference between first time creation and the already created one which you want to republish would be, you may not need to edit. So already once you create it, it will be in edit mode. So for already created one, you may edit and change some of the values in your channel. So once you do that, you may need to go ahead and hit publish. So I am going to click on publish, which is the third section under channel tab. So once I click on publish, it will ask, are you sure you want to publish this channel? So when I say yes, so what happens is, it will go ahead and publish this particular channel. So now it has started publishing. So it would have completed, it has completed the publish. Now what we need to do is, we need to go and run the distribution schedule. So I am going back to USRT retail. In retail module, under periodic, you find data distribution, where you have a menu item called distribution schedule. So let me click on distribution schedule. So here if you see, we have actually edited changes in channel. So which means we need to run 1070 job, which is channel configuration. So what I am going to do is, I'm going to minimize this zoom and then go ahead and select channel configuration, and I'm going to click on run now. So you can either do a run now, or on a typical environment you may create a batch job for it and go ahead and click on batch job and associate that to a batch processor, and then the job will be handled. However, here for the sake of the demo I am going to click on run now. So here if you see, there are two data groups involved, one is a data group and one is a India data group. So our retail Contessor store is part of data group, so it should be doing a channel configuration update to the CRT database. So I am going to click on yes, by which this job gets run. You will see the distribution schedule tries to run this job, and you can find Dynamics AX processing. So now this job has completed. So now what we need to do is, we need to click on process status messages. You can either click here to run this particular job, by which you can get the status information from the entire publishing process from AX to CRT. However, you can also do the same by going into download sessions. So once I go here, you can find process status messages. So even when you click here, the same menu item activity will happen. So here what we will be doing is, we are going to run this job, and when I click on OK, so this job will get run. So once it gets completed, you will find the status messages whether this particular activity has got applied or not. So if you see 11:11, so you can find there are some updates to different stores. However, with our retail Contessor store, we have got some update happen. So the channel configuration has published, and you can find what time the data got downloaded and what is the request time. So all these transaction details you will be able to find in this part. And if you see here, you can see the data package file which got created. So once this gets created, what happens is, async client will come and pick this data package, and it will go ahead and push that data from AX to CRT database. So let me copy this. I have not copied it properly. So it is demo files retail CDX download and 576. So I am going to go into that particular folder. See, I am in demo files, I am in retail. I am going to click on CDX, and this is a download, and under 576 you can find so at 11:10 am. So here you can find the data package file which has got created. So with this we complete the data distribution from AX to CRT database. Now moving on, let's discuss about how to troubleshoot publishing. So when the online channel is published, different components are involved in each step of this process. First, the data from AX is synchronized with CRT database. So here the async service with async server and sync client, so both of them work in hand in hand. So then the data from the CRT DB is pushed to the product catalog site by the retail publishing job, and then the data on the product catalog site is crawled by the search and becomes available in the online store site. So if the data published from AX is not available in the online store site, consider there will be some sequence of steps where you may have some problems. So the first would be, check that the data from AX is synchronized into CRT database. If this is not the case, investigate async server and async client configuration and the statuses, whether you find files in the upload and download folder or not. Then check that the data from CRT DB is pushed to the product catalog site. If this is not running, then investigate whether the retail publishing job status is successful or not by going into the monitoring part of central administration. Check that the data from the product catalog site is added to the search index for the online store site. If this is not the case, then troubleshoot with the online store site connections by using the site settings, manage catalog connections. So over here you can configure, and also you can run a search crawl by which you will have this data from the publishing catalog to the actual site. So with this I conclude this configuration and the setup of online store and also the data distribution schedule. So join me in the next lesson where we will work at managing online store products. Managing the online store products. So in this lesson we will be discussing about following tasks in AX which we will be performing to manage the online store products. So first would be adding an assortment to the online store. Then we will talk about manage an online store catalog. Then we will discuss about managing prices and taxes. Then we will discuss about price adjustments and discount. Then at the end we will do a publish of an online store catalog. So in this lesson we will begin with adding assortments and bring price groups to the online store and then focus on managing and publishing an online store catalog. So let me get into AX and show you how to add an assortment. So we are here in the retail module. So I am going to click on online stores to add an assortment to the channel. So you can either do from online store or you can always click on assortment and go to that particular set of assortments which you have configured to the online channel. So however now I am going to click on the Contoso online store which is there in the list and our area of focus. So I click on Contoso online store and here you have an option under inventory called view assortments. So when I click on view assortments, you will be finding that there is one assortment associated to it which is electronic. So when I select this electronic and when I click on view assortment products, you will be finding the list of products that are associated to it. I have did a double click, so it opened the product dimensions. However, if you see, this is the list of assortment of products which are part of this particular electronic assortment. So now out here, if you have any changes to be done, you can go ahead and double click on that particular product and you can click on edit and you can go ahead and change if you have any of the descriptions to be changed. So I am going to say a small change with the description which is Outreach Video Lab 156. So once I do that, I am going to click on save by pressing Ctrl S. I am going to click on close. So now I have did some update to my assortment. So now what we need to do is we have to get back to our online store because we have changed something in our assortment. So if we want this to come back to CRT database and then in turn come to the online store, then we need to get back to the online store. I am going to double click on the store now. So we went ahead and updated the view assortment products. So what we may need to do is we need to click on edit, open this particular channel and hit publish. So once you do this publish, the channel gets published. So with the channel, the assortment will also get published with a set of updated data. So with this we complete knowing about how to configure assortments. Similarly, we will also look here in the same channel, let us look about price groups. So when I click on a price group, you can find there are two price groups added here. So right now you can see there is no edit option. So what I am going to do is, let me close this form, click on edit, say yes. Now let me click on price groups. Now you can see the new and the delete button got enabled. So here our price groups that are configured are online and PG Electro. So however, you can always add a new price group. So there are different price groups that you can configure for retail module. So here you have a list of price groups that are available for you. So you can always select a new price group which you can create in the retail module and then just click on save. So once you do that, that price group will get associated to this particular channel. Then you can go ahead and further publish it. So when you do this publish, you will find both the price groups and also the assortment which we did some time back. So both of them gets updated to the channel, and in turn when we do the database update through data distribution schedule, which is there under retail, under periodic distribution schedule. Once you start running the channel configuration and you go ahead and run now, you will find the data getting synced from here to the CRT database. So moving on, retail product catalogs identify the products that you want to offer in your online stores. When you create the catalog, you identify the online stores that the products are offered in. So we will add the products that you want to include and then improve the product offerings by adding merchandising details. You can create multiple catalogs for an online store. Join me in the next lesson where we will look at how to create and publish an online store catalog. Creating and publishing an online store catalog is a crucial step in Dynamics AX for retail. This is where we will have all the products and its attributes updated, and we will also add new products or add new products to the channels, etc. We need to publish a catalog in order to have update of product details to various channels with Dynamics AX 2012 R3. On publish and then running scheduler jobs in AX, we will pick the data from AX and push to the CRT database. So there are steps to be followed during the creation to publishing of a catalog to online store in AX. Let's take a closer look at this right now. So I am getting back to my VM where we will be discussing about creating a brand new catalog and how do we associate it and have it published. So first level, what I am going to do is, at this moment let me switch back to the retail module. So if you see here under retail, I have retail channels where we kept discussing about online stores. Now for this particular Contoso online store, we are going to create a new catalog. So you can always have multiple catalogs associated to the same online store. So for an example, you may have a summer catalog, a winter catalog which you want to assign it to the online store. So now I am going to get into under common, under catalogs, you have a menu item called catalogs. So once I click on it, you will find list of available catalogs that are there with the AX system. So now what I am going to do is, I am going to click on new and I am going to click on OK after typing in the catalog name and description. So let me give it a name called Contoso Temp catalog, and let me give a description of temp catalog and hit OK. So once I do that, you can see it comes with a brand new form where you need to give details. So here you need to mainly configure who is the owner for this catalog. I am going to leave it with Tim Litton, and you can see the status is set to draft. You have to set the effective date. This is very important, by which on that particular effective date these catalog data will get published to the online store. So now I am going to click on effective date and I am going to set from 14th of July. I want this particular catalog to be active, and I should also select expiration date. So I am going to select, so this will be till, so it is currently with never. So I am going to say today, and then I am going to change the date probably to 30th of July. So from 14th to 30th this catalog is effective. Now here you should add in the retail channels fast pane, you need to click on add to add an operating unit. This is nothing but adding the organization node. So I am going to select Contoso Retail Electronics Contoso Online Store. So once I click on add, so you can see that automatically the Contoso online stores category hierarchy gets connected with this particular catalog. So which means you are associating this particular new catalog to your Contoso online store that we created earlier. So now if you see here, you have the entire navigation hierarchy automatically is brought by AX for you. Now what you may need to do is, you may need to add products to this particular catalog. So always you need to select the top root, which is our catalog name. So you select that, and then you have to go to add products. So it is under product section in the catalogs tab. So once you click this, you can find all the products that are part of this particular hierarchy. So these are the assortment of products which got added to this particular channel. So now what I am going to do is, I am going to select few of the products and hit add. So once I click on add, you will find those products getting added to the added selected products. Now similarly, you may want few of the products with including different variants of it. So what you can do is, you can select those products and you can click on add variant. So once you click on add variant, you can see it shows what are the different options of variants that are available with that product. So there is a black and a silver. So what I am going to do is, I am going to select both, by which both the variant of product gets added to the selected products. So now you can see both the products have got added for 1109. So similarly you may need to add for other variants. So for variants you need to select single product and click on add variant. So here you can see black, blue and white. So I am going to select few more and hit add. So now you have a good bunch of products available with your catalog. So now I am going to click on OK, and on click of OK, you will find those products getting added to your catalog. So let me go to electronics, and I should be able to find 8 products that got added to my catalog. So once these products are available, you can always select the product and go ahead and check about its attributes, and you can customize these attribute values for this particular catalog only. And you can also add scripts which will be used by the call center when they talk about this particular product. So here you can see there is a base level of a attribute group which has HTML, image and a video, and these picks automatically the sources for this particular product from its assortments. Now moving on, you can definitely customize these values for this particular catalog, and you can add different values for different specifications. And once you do that and you click close, you can update the attributes. And next we will look at listings. So if you see the listing, automatically this particular product is associated with Contoso online store. You will find it with the default associations. Now similarly you can do a upsell or a cross sell, and you can add related products to this particular product. Feel free to try different options with this particular list of products. So once you have all these things configured, you may also come across, if suppose you have added products which are not part of this online hierarchy, you can always go ahead and select products from other hierarchy, then automatically those products will come under uncategorized. So when you find those kind of products that comes under uncategorized, which means they are not relevant to any of the menu structure. So what you may need to do is select those products and then categorize that product to any one of the navigation hierarchy with which you associate the product to that particular navigation hierarchy. So with this we conclude about creating a catalog. Once you do this, you can go ahead and do a Ctrl S and save it. Now moving on, we need to next do the validation of a catalog. So how to validate an online store catalog? After you add the catalog, components to the catalog, you must validate the catalog. The validation process ensures that all the required data is included and is valid so that the publishing process can succeed. The validation process verifies that required data for channel attributes and product attributes is complete and valid. The process also verifies that the online store that are assigned to the catalog are complete and valid and have a status of published. After the validation process is complete, you can view a detailed explanation for any warnings or errors that are found. Products that generate a warning cannot be published to the online store. A catalog that contains any errors cannot be published until the errors are resolved. Now let's have a look at how to do the validation of a catalog. So coming back to the VM, so we already saved this particular catalog. Now moving on, I am going to click on validate catalog, and on click of validate catalog you will find a form coming up. Since this is the first time we have this catalog created, you don't find any of the existing messages of the previous validations happen. You can always validate a catalog multiple times when you have any minor changes, so there is no restriction in terms of validating the catalog. So I click on validate catalog. You will find a validate catalog job that comes up. You can either select it to a batch job or you can directly run it. So I am going to run it directly now in the sake of time. So once I click on OK, you should be finding validation results coming back to you after the validation completion. So you can see the channel, now it throws an error that the channel Contoso online store has not been published because the product listings cannot be created, because we already have a catalog which is defined and which is already validated and published for this online store. So for this particular demo I just showed you how to create a new catalog. However, I will go to the actual catalog and go ahead and run the validation process to show how a validation happens. So I am going to select the Contoso catalog. You can see this catalog is already validated. So on successful validation you can always go ahead and publish the catalog. But before publishing the catalog, I would like you to show some of the concept of publishing of a catalog. So moving on, publishing an online store catalog. Publishing a catalog makes products and product information available in a specific online store. Before you publish the catalog, you must publish any online stores that are assigned to the catalog. Publishing the online store generates the online store structure and the navigation categories, whereas publishing the catalog generates the product listings that appear in the online store. After catalog is published, you can view the product listings that are generated during the publishing process. The publishing architecture is illustrated in the following diagram that I am going to show it to you through the PowerPoint slide. Let me get back to PPT here. So if you see here, this is the process of creating and processing a catalog. So you created the catalog which we discussed little earlier. After that we went ahead and validate the catalog. So during this validation it will check whether it is assorted, has the required values, and whether it is categorized properly. So on a successful validation you will get the validation successful message. So once you get that, the next step would be approval of the catalog. So during the approval catalog step, you may need to have the required approver coming into the AX and moving on and selecting approved for that particular catalog. Then only you can publish the catalog. If suppose in a development environment, I will be showing you how to go ahead and approve the catalog without waiting for a approval person. So moving on, once the catalog gets approved, you will be publishing the catalog, where we will be finding that a snapshot of catalog will be taken with the products, and then with the date and the time validity, this particular data will be ready to move to CRT database after this publish completion. So moving on to the next slide, this slide will show you about how an exact publishing process happens. So from Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 retail headquarters, a channel and a catalog gets published. So whenever you have any change in a catalog, you have to always first publish the channel and then publish the catalog, by which both the data gets pushed to the database. And whenever you have only channel changes, you can just do the channel publishing, but when you have a catalog change, you have to publish the channel also, because a catalog is associated to the channel. Once you publish, the data gets into a data package, then Commerce Runtime Services comes ahead using the asynchronous client and the asynchronous server, which is also called as async server and async client. So using that, it will pick the data and push it to the CRT database. Once you have the data available, the commerce runtime services come into picture through the timer job, and then the timer job will go ahead and pick the data and push it to the retail online catalog. So once the product catalog holds all the data, then you will find the navigation hierarchy and the product schema getting updated to the term set. So from the term set, the term store will pick the data and you will have a retail online store getting the values whichever you have published in the retail headquarters. This would be the end-to-end flow. Let's get back to my VM and we will have a look at how to publish the catalog. So I am back to my VM, and if you see here, I double click on the Contoso catalog, and here you have a view history option that this particular catalog is waiting for approval workflow to complete. So this would be a step which we need to complete. Since I am not the approver, I don't have the access to approve it here, but however a approver will have an approval option for him. So now what we need to do is, as a development environment, I press Ctrl D to open the development environment, wherein you go to forms, and under forms you need to search for tutorial_workflow. So tutorial_workflow processor, this would be a form which you need to open and run it. So I am going to right click and hit open, and I am going to say start. So once I click on start, this workflow will run and it will make the approval process happen for us. So now once I click on close, once we have the tutorial_workflow processor running and successfully completion, you will find for your catalog publishing button getting enabled for you, and you can find the approval would have got completed. So however, for me at this moment the validate catalog throwed error, so I need to fix that, by which I can have the approval process completion, and then once I have the approval completed, I will have this publish button on. So on click of this publish, you will be able to publish this particular catalog. On completion of publishing, so getting into the retail, so what you may need to do is, you need to scroll down all the way to periodic, and under periodic we need to go to data distribution and select data distribution schedule. So once you click on it, you will find the list of jobs that are available for you to do the data distribution. So here we have updated the catalog. So what we may need to do is, we need to publish both the catalog and the channel. So I am going to run 1150 job which is above the catalog. You need to click on this and click on run now, and it will come with a pop-up stating, do you want to run this job? Click yes, and with that particular catalog will get pushed, all the catalogs actually will get pushed if there is a change as a data package file, and from that particular package file the data gets pushed to the CRT database, and in turn it reaches the SharePoint storefront. And along with it, you may also need to run the job for channel if there is a change. So always a channel needs to be run first, and then you need to run the catalog. So with that you will be able to successfully publish the catalog. So now moving on, let's take a look at product attributes in the next lesson. The product attributes are used to add merchandising details to the product that you offer in your online store. Product attributes include things such as color, size, product dimensions, and other product details. To make product attributes visible in the online store, you add them to the products that are listed in your retail catalog. You can edit product attributes at any time. You can edit them one by one in the retail catalog by using the catalog details form, or you can bulk edit them by exploring them to Microsoft Excel. Editing them there and then importing the changes back into the retail catalog is an easier way. In Excel, you can edit product attributes for whole catalog, or you can edit only one product attribute that are assigned to a specific category. So, Microsoft Office add-ins for Microsoft Dynamics AX is required to integrate Microsoft Dynamics AX client with Microsoft Excel. Before you can use Excel to bulk edit product attributes in a retail catalog, you must follow the tasks that I am going to show it to you now. Enabling digitally signed macros and disable all other macros in Excel, then define product attributes, set up attribute groups, create a retail catalog, assign attribute groups to retail categories or retail channels. So, these are stuffs which we already learnt about in the previous lessons. So, let us now get into AX in my VM and show you how to do the editing in Excel. So, I am now in my VM. Under USRT retail, you have under common catalogs and catalog menu item. So, when I click on catalogs, I get all the catalogs opened, wherein I am going to select Contoso base catalog and double click on it. If you see here, by default you may not get the option of edit in Excel. It is disabled because this particular catalog is not in edit mode. So, you may need to go under maintain and click on edit. Once you click on edit, you will find your catalog getting activated to edit mode. Now, you will find edit in Excel. So, once you click on edit in Excel, you will find the Excel sheet getting open, where you will get all the products in this particular navigation hierarchy of the catalog. So, each and every product is available for you. You can always go ahead and change any of the product attributes. For example, here you have a gift card and you have a laptop. So, these are some of the products. So, for this product, if you want to change the text, you can always go ahead and change the text, and you can check whether it is required and you want to change the required to no from S. So, you can change each and every attribute that are associated with that product. So, this is on a root level I have selected. So, the entire product listing is available for us. So, if you see here, there are a lot of products with all the attribute names, and for that particular attribute name, what is the attribute value. So, you can key in the item number with, instead of gray you want to change it to a different color variant. So, you can change each and everything. Once you do that, you have to go to Dynamics AX tab, which is right over here, and then on selection of the tab you have an option called publish. So, when you click on publish, it will go ahead and update the product attributes in that particular catalog. So, with this you will be able to edit in bulk for a lot of items, and you have a filter option in Excel. So, you can filter a set of group of items and change all the values at one shot. So, this is going to be an easy way to manage using Excel. So, now what I am going to do is, I am not going to do the publish because it will take its own time to go ahead and publish, because there is a huge set of list of product items with this particular catalog. So, in the sake of time, once you publish, I will be switching back to this catalog, and you can get into any of the navigation hierarchy and select a particular product, and you can verify by clicking on the attributes, which is right over here, and you can check if your update is successfully updated here or not. So, this is the way you validate a product category product attribute update from Excel to Dynamics AX. So, with this I complete sharing you the knowledge about how to update product attributes. So, join me in the next lesson where we will look at how to set up shipping charges for the online store. Setting up shipping charges for the online store includes the following tasks in AX: set up mode of delivery for an online store, set up shipping charges for an online store. you can specify which modes of delivery are available to customers during checkout in your online store. You can also specify different modes of delivery for specific combinations of products and addresses. Before you can set up the mode of delivery for an online store, you must create modes of delivery. For more information about how to create modes of delivery, visit the resources section of this course to find a link to TechNet resource on the subject. Let's set up the modes of delivery in AX now. I am switching back to my VM, and out here we need to click on USRT, and now this time we need to select sales and marketing. So on click of sales and marketing, we need to come under setup. Under setup you have modes of delivery. So I am going to click on modes of delivery here, and on click of modes of delivery you can find that different modes of delivery are available for you. So truck, ground, electronic, air, next day air. So here if you have a new type of delivery to add, you can go ahead and add it. So here we have already enough number of modes of delivery available for us. So let's take a look at one of the modes of delivery, what exactly we are going to do with it. So if you see here, electronic is a mode of delivery for Contoso online store. So the mode of delivery number is 12. So this will be the code which will be stored when an item is getting purchased. So here if you see under retail channels, you can add a line. So this is where you will go ahead and add a line of which particular organization hierarchy you want to add it. So right now we already have added online Contoso store. So you can go ahead and select online Contoso store and click add and then click close. So when you do that, you will be able to add a line. So since there is already a line, so it will not allow you to add the same. So I just tried to show you what exactly you need to do to add a line of organization to this particular mode of delivery. So now moving on, you can always add products and say whether this particular product is included for this mode of delivery or not, or you want to exclude some set of products which you do not want to have this mode of delivery, by which you segregate products with whether you want it to be included for this mode of delivery or you do not want it to be. So you can either add a single line or you can add multiple products, and you can say whether you want to include or you want to exclude. So similarly you can also go ahead and select addresses, where you can select whether this particular which country you want to include and which country you do not want to include, by which only those country addresses will be accepted for this mode of delivery. So again here you have an option, you can select few of the countries and you can select the respective state out here, and then you can go ahead and say whether you want to include or exclude. So with this you will be able to set up the mode of delivery, and you can always check here different options that are available for you, where you have a transport calendar, you have the external codes, and you have translations. So now moving on, I am going to close this, and further we will be discussing about the next thing where we will be adding the auto charges. So you can define the following types of shipping charges for online orders: a fixed amount for a range of order totals. This includes free shipping for an order total above a specified amount, a fixed amount for each item, a charge that is provided by the shipping carrier that you can mark up by a specified percentage, a percentage of a total. You can also define a shipping charge for a mode of delivery, a group of mode of delivery, or all modes of delivery. So note that before you can specify shipping charges, you must create modes of delivery, which we did it in the earlier lesson. Now let's take a look at how to add auto charges, where you can fix a from cost and the to cost within which that particular mode of delivery will get free or it will get chargeable. So let me switch back to my VM, wherein I am going to select retail module, and under retail module we will scroll all the way down under setup. You have something called charges, and under charges you have auto charges. So I am going to click on auto charges here. So in auto charges you can associate an account code with mode of delivery. So here you will be associating the customer relation with the mode of delivery relation. So here either you can choose from 3 options: a table, a group, or a all. So if it is a table, which means you are stating that you will be having a one-to-one relationship with a customer. So for each customer you want to specifically have a mode of delivery for them. So similarly you can have for a group. So let me select one of the customer. So similarly you can have for a group, wherein once you select a group you will have a group of customers. So I have a group of customer created, which is customer charges group number 1. So for this particular group you will have the association of mode of delivery. So I have selected again mode of delivery to be a group. So here I have 2 groups, one is a ground group and another is a delivery charge group. So you can always select between groups and you can go ahead and add lines to it. So if suppose you have all, which means the account code is all and mode of delivery also is all, which means you are associating all the customers to this particular mode of delivery. If you see in this example, you can add lines, you can add a new record where you set up your currency, a charge code, and what is the charge value for the from amount to amount. So for 100 to 500 USD, so the charge value would be $15 for the freight. So this is how you can configure for different set of customers with a different set of prices as auto charges. So with this I conclude the lesson for this module. Check out the practice and I will see you in the next module review. In this module, we learned about the conceptual model of the online store, how to set up the online store, how to create a navigational structure, and how to create and configure an online store. We also learned about how to distribute data and publish it, manage products for the online store, how to publish a catalog and flow of catalog publishing. When something goes wrong with the recent catalog publish, how to retract the product, and updating product attributes, and also how to set up shipping charges. This is the basic retail data setup to get things pushed and have an online store setup. I will see you in the next module where we will talk about online store administration.